Hello, and welcome to my rules explanation slash playthrough of the Dresden Files cooperative card game. I am not an uber fan of the book series. I have read probably 1.25 of the books, and that was a good 4 years ago. It is hard for me to think of the Dresden Files and not imagine a Cold War Tom Clancy era book series. Sounds like what the Dresden Files would be. But it is not. In fact, it is a series of stories about a wizard who lives in Chicago and is a private investigator. He solves crimes with his friends, supernatural crimes. There's probably some sort of wizarding court that he has to report to. I don't know. None of that's very important. What's important is in this port, important, haha, is you will be playing through the books, but you don't need to, there's no spoilers really. And I assume, I don't know. I feel like if you don't know the books, there's not spoilers. Um, and you don't need to have a knowledge of the books in order to play the game. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do is click on Start Game, of course. And here you can see, if you tap on Book Deck, all of these books are available just in the base game. The ones with the lock symbol, of course, are not. Side Jobs, I guess, is a series of short stories in this universe. With this guy, I feel like there's some pretty serious, like, wish fulfillment of what would make a cool looking dude. Like, this coat, the hat, the staff. And it's not my thing. Let's just leave it at that. We're going to go ahead and play the story from Stormfront, which is the first book. It's what the tutorial in the app covers, so not really stepping on any toes in terms of the fun of developing the stories themselves. But like I said, it's the same thing you'd see in the tutorial. There is a very high replayability factor as well. It's not like once you finish a story, you won't be able to do it again. And we'll see how that replayability comes up. I have beat Stormfront once out of probably, I don't know, 15 attempts maybe? Maybe 10? I haven't been counting. And Full Moon I have not beat, but I have attempted probably around 5 times. I haven't tried any of the other ones yet. I kind of like to beat one and then move on to the next one. So we're going to do Stormfront. We're going to do it at the apprentice level because I am bad at this. In cooperative games, I like them because you don't need an AI. In this game, you don't need an AI to play against. You are playing against however the cards come out in the tableau. And the problem is you don't need to play with anybody else. That's not a problem. That's a benefit. I find that playing against real players, real opponents, can be a bit trying, waiting for them to take their turn. And there are times when I don't take my turn. So I'm sure that it could be trying for my opponents as well. So I like being able to sit down in 10 minutes or so, pump out a game, and leave it at that without having to worry about somebody else's feelings or enjoyment. Yes, so, but the downside of that is there's no one to mitigate my poor decision making because it's just me making all the decisions, which is not always great. In this game, in a pandemic, when we do the pandemic app, you'll see that I will stick to one philosophy and one strategy and just ram it into the ground. Okay, so we're going to be playing with Harry Dresden of Dresden, the eponymous Harry Dresden. And we can play with 2 other people. We'll be playing with the 2 defaults. Karen Murphy, who is, I guess, a non-supernatural police, like regular Chicago PD lady, and Michael Carpenter, who is some sort of Knight Templar, I guess. I'm not really that up on, like, Christian warriors. But you can change to other characters. You can unlock other characters. But again, I haven't done that. I haven't found the need to change up the characters yet. I haven't played it enough to where I feel like I've really gotten uh, a stranglehold on Karen and Michael. So we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to take a little peek-see-poo with the screen here. This is it. This is the game. We have foes who are red. We have cases to solve, which are green. We will have a card of 6 hands, a hand of 6 cards each character will have. And we basically are trying to solve the puzzle of what order to play our cards in order to spend our fate points the most economically and efficiently, and in order to win the game. How do we win the game? Well, you'll see up here in the upper right hand corner, we have a number of cases solved and a number of foes remaining. We win if the number of cases solved exceeds the number of foes remaining. Now, you'll notice I said exceeds and it's not exceeds or is equal to, because if they're equal, we still lose. We need to clear more green cards than red cards are left on in the tableau. If we clear all 4 and we only defeat 1 foe, poof, we win, because we've solved 4 cases and there are only 3 foes remaining on the board. Now, one thing I like about this game is that, now, not having played the tabletop version, this is an assumption on my part that the cards stay fairly close to how they are in the tabletop version. I think that you can see in a lot of tabletop to digital ports, the graphic design of the component of cards is usually quite similar. If you look at a Through the Ages, or a Race for the Galaxy, a Star Realms, Agricola, all of these card-based games, or that have cards as components, you'll see they stay pretty true to the original design of the tabletop version when they do the digital port, and I like that. That as someone who is more comfortable in a tabletop environment than in like a video game environment, I find comfort in that. So, one thing this game does is it categorizes by color. Now, I can understand if you're colorblind, that might be a bit of an issue, but I feel like the graphic designers have taken that into account. You'll notice that the 2 types of cards that you clear in order to have an effect on the in-game situation have these little, like, fingernails on them, I guess. And the investigative ones, the green ones, have the arc on top, whereas the foes have it on the bottom. And there's a bit of a flame versus a, I don't know, a skull, I guess. So that's interesting. And I think that's well done. So we talked about 2 types of cards. Cases, foes. These yellow cards, these ones that have things like this, these are obstacles, which in some way are going to affect gameplay. And we'll talk more about them when we get to them. The purple cards are advantages, which are going to help our investigators in some way. Let's talk a little bit more about the cards that we see out here. You'll notice that some of them have letters and arrows. And so what this means is that, for example, this card, Marcone's Goons, it's got the letter A and then an arrow pointing away from the A. That means that this card affects the card that has an A with an arrow pointing to the A, which is this one. Is Marcone involved? So this, if the arrow is pointing to the letter, it means it is impacted by something. And if the arrow is pointing away from the letter, it means that card impacts something. So Victor is missing impacts who is the Shadow Man. Who is the Shadow Man impacts the Toad Demon, of course. Speed Potion impacts the Toad Demon. And as we said before, Marcone's Goons affects, is Marcone involved? So let's just take a look at Ritual Double Murder, just super casually. We'll just look at Ritual Double Murder, why not? So this is a case. It tells you which book it's from. And you see here, it's got a price. This costs 11 clues. Once we have assigned 11 clues to that case, it clears. We get a little tick up here, and we're trucking right along to hopefully winning the game. As I said before, I've only ever won this once, so not too optimistic. Let's take a little peek at the foes of the same idea. So giant scorpion here. It takes 9 hits to defeat this giant scorpion. And now if we look at Marcone's goons, we have an effect on here. When defeated, remove 2 clues from is Marcone involved. So once we get 7 hits on that guy, we come over to is Marcone involved, and we remove 2 clues from him. So if we had 3 clues on him, if we had assigned 3 clues to where we only needed 4 more clues on him, but we defeated Marcone's goons, we would be taking them away. There's also a when solved effect here. The active player must discard an attack card. So probably somewhat logically, the red cards in your hand are attack cards that correspond, that you can use against the foes. The green cards are investigation cards you can use to put clues on cases. The yellow cards help you clear hazards, and the purple cards let you take advantages. So let's talk a little bit. Let's look at, these are all dumb. Okay, let's look at this yellow card. We see this blue is its fate cost. How much does it cost to play this card? And the cost to play will be coming out of this pool up here. So we're going to start with 13 fate points, which is what happens when you start at the easiest level. And the range for this card is 1 space. What the range means is coming from the left side over here, you can use this card to affect a similarly colored card in the tableau that's the range number of spaces away from the left. So this card, I could affect one of these 2 cards. I could affect Morgan is watching. This card has a range of 1, but it would affect a purple card. The nearest purple card is at a range 2, so I wouldn't be able to use it yet. The same thing is true for these green cards, which allow us to apply this number of clues to a case. So let's take a look at this guy. It costs us 3 fate. We'll be able to assign 2 clues, and its range is 3 modified by 1. So there are die in this game, and you roll the dice, and on 2 of the dice sides there are plus signs, on 2 they are blank, and on 2 sides there are negative signs. And what that'll do is that will modify this number. So if I got a plus sign, the range would be 4. If I got a neutral sign, the range would stay 3, and if I got a minus, the range would go down to 2. So you're not really sure how far you're going to be able to go with this card, which is going to be more of a hassle for that. In this attack card, what's modified is how much it costs. So it can cost anywhere from 1 to 3 fate points. This one is going to modify how much damage you actually do. You'll be doing anywhere from 3 to 5 damage. This little guy is going to cost 4 fate, and it has an infinite range because anytime there's a little star, it's going to in some way break the rules. So this card is saying you can add 2 clues to all cases in 1 row. Grand. So you could add 2 clues to this one and 2 clues to this one, or 2 clues to this one and 2 clues to this one. Now, one of the things I was saying early on is about the replayability of this game. When you are trying to beat a book, these don't always come out in the same order. You shuffle these 12 cards up, lay them out 6 by 6. If you have an obstacle or an advantage in the last bit, you push them over and you go to town. So it's a different puzzle every time. So that's all of those points. So let's take a look at what the hazards are going to do. So the first obstacle hazard, all attacks cost +1 fate. So that means it's going to cost 1 more fate to play this and 1 more fate to play this. Our other obstacle is this 3-eyed, I was saying it says 3-eyed druid war, but it says 3-eyed drug war. all neutral die become negative. So we might see if we can use that to our advantage. No promises. Let's take a look at what our advantages are. So this beer at max, the active player, the player who takes this advantage, draws a card and distributes 2 card draws among the other players. So either can give both card draws to one of the other players or give each of the other players or characters 1 card draw. And then the speed potion, active player draws 1 card, then immediately takes another turn, and you can move the toad demon to the furthest range. And he's already to the furthest range. So, what would he do? Now, you'll see he's got this little thing. He's got an asterisk next to his 8. The thing with the toad demon is he cannot receive damage until Who is the Shadow Man is solved. And that's what this B means. So, I can't deal damage to this foe until this case is solved. Now, you might be wondering, what does the C mean, Rachel? What's going on with that? Well, the C is pretty cool. When you solve Victor is missing, you get to add 3 clues to Who is the Sandman. So you get 9 clues on this guy. Boom. You get to put 3 clues on this guy, and then you only need 7 more clues to solve this. The problem is that that jerk is way over here on the right. He's super far away. That might not be a problem. We'll see. Okay. So let's talk about what you do on your turn. Your turn order is always going to be the same. At the beginning of the game, you can decide which character is going to go first based on who you think has the strongest hand. Now that rule assumes that you're going to be putting a little bit more forethought into this than old Rachel does, because I like to just dive in, and that also might be why I lose fairly frequently. Not important. So on your turn, you can do one of 4 things. You can play one of your cards by paying the number of fate points in the upper left-hand corner. That's number 1. Number 2, you can discard one of your cards to regain the number of fate points that is at the top left of the card. And if in a situation like this, where it's modified, you would roll the die and modify how many fate points you get added back into the pool. Now this 13 is a hard limit. If you were, like, let's say we were at 10 fate and I discarded this 5, we would only go up to 13. We wouldn't go up to 15. So be mindful of that. You don't want to waste any fate. Fate can be very precious in this game. And it is a balance between, do I want to use this card for this? Or do I want to use it for the fate points? What am I doing? Now, when you discard a card, you will trigger the active character's special action, I guess. So this guy, when you discard for fate points, you can move 1 obstacle or advantage card forward or backward 1 space in either row. So he could move this one here, he could move this one here, here, he could move this one here, here, this one here, here. He can sort of, I don't know, manipulate time and space. Karen's special ability is when she discards a card from her hand for fate points, she gets to add 1 clue to the case that's the furthest away from the left. So she'd be adding a clue to this. It's pretty neat. And Michael Carpenter's special ability is he sort of charges up his, I don't know, like laser beam, and he gets to add 2 to the range of one of his cards when he's playing it. So that comes in handy. So that's 2 things that each person can do on their turn. They can play a card for what the card is, or they can discard the card for the fate point value. Now the third thing they can do, each player has a stunt, which is the second card next to their face. And they can use that once per game. So Harry's stunt is, as your turn, flip this card over to add 4 hits to any one foe that will be defeated by 1 to 4 hits. So if these jerks had 3 hits on them already, he could use his blasting rod to just kick him out of the game. Of course, that would involve removing 2 clues from this guy. It's a balance thing. Karen's stunt is she gets to add 1 fate point to the pool for each case that has a clue on it and each foe that has a hit point on it. So she could ostensibly be adding 8 fate points with her stunt. And Michael Carpenter's stunt once per game stunt is to add 3, I want to say. Let's take a look. Talk to us, Michael Carpenter. Add 3 hits to any one foe that has no hits on it. Then that card also just sort of gets sent to the very end of the row. So if this guy had no hits on him, he could use that sword to put 3 hits on it, and then it would go all the way over here, and all these other cards would shift 1 forward. Anytime you clear a card from here, either by solving the case, defeating the foe, clearing the obstacle, or taking the advantage, all the other cards move to the left 1 space, and then might come within range, which is pretty cool. So that's 3 of the things we can do on our turn. Play a card for the action, discard a card for the fate points, play your character's stunt, or the last thing is pass. When you pass, it costs a fate point to pass, but you are giving the other characters an opportunity to potentially do something. At the end of the game, when all the players have run out of things to do, you can trigger the showdown. And we'll talk about the showdown when it happens. So the showdown can either be manually triggered by the player, or if you were to, let's say we had 2 fate points left, all right? And I wanted to play this. And it's a bit of a gamble because I have this 1. Now, if I roll a negative or a neutral, I'm good, right? Because I would either have to pay 2 or 1 fate point, respectively. But if I got a plus sign and I would need to pay 3 fate and I only had 2 fate, I would trigger a showdown because I guess I'm tempting fate thematically. I don't know. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. I say 20 minutes into the video. And let's see if we can't solve this mystery. So we're going to click this little play button on the right, and we're just going to go ahead and choose, I don't know, I guess we'll choose Karen first. You can look at their cards before you randomly choose who you're going to start with. So Karen, as you can see, has no attack cards, which is pretty gnarly. She could clear Morgan is Watching with this guy. She's got this Kevlar vest, which has a random, or it's got a modified range. I'm leaning towards, okay, you see these guys, how these have, I keep wanting to say asterisks, so they just have stars next to them. So this one, she has a range of 3, costs fate 4, puts 2 clues, and if this investigation solves the target case, she gets to draw a card. So it's like a pushing over the edge sort of investigation thing. Similar thing here with this detective work. The investigation solves the target case, add 3 clues to any one case. So she's kind of our closer. We don't want to use either of those just yet. This investigation has a range of 1. We don't have anything in a range of 1 that we want to work with. So our best bet, because we don't want to discard any cards because we're already at max fate, we're going to go ahead and use our badge here to overcome the obstacle of Morgan is Watching. And remember, Morgan is Watching is going to cause all attacks to cost 1 more fate, which is not a thing that we want to happen. So we'll go ahead and tap on the badge. If we tap on this, it is the way to trigger discarding the card for the fate points, which we don't want to do. We will, and the game will highlight any legal cards that you can choose. So we'll tap on that one. We'll tap on Morgan is Watching. It'll narrate what's happening. We'll go ahead and close. Bing! So we've cleared a card. So let's go to Michael Carpenter. What is Michael offering us? Oh, we don't have very many attack cards at all. Altogether, we have 3 attack cards. Michael has 1 and Harry has 2. That's not great. Oh, that's not great at all. Okay, so he's got this one, which is a massive attack at a short range into, I guess, some sort of ram skull with a little puppy nose, according to the illustration. Costs 5 fate, can do anywhere from 4 to 6 hits. Pretty neat. We don't want to do that yet, though. Although, clearing Marcone's goons might not be the worst thing. Let's see what else we got here. We have Banish the Darkness, which lets us put 3 clues on something nearby. Now, this is interesting. It's not that interesting. He's got 2 cards that let us overcome obstacles. This Blessing card and this Fist of God. Now the Fist of God is interesting. It's got a range of 2, and what it'll do, when it clears the obstacle in question, it will add 2 clues to any investigation that is adjacent to it, and it'll add 2 damage to any foe that can legally take damage that's adjacent to it. So we're going to want to save this card to use on this, because then we'll not only be able to clear that obstacle, but we'll also be able to add clues to a thing. This is similar. This family man is a similar idea. You can take the advantage, which in this case will be Bear Max, and then it'll add 2 clues to Ritual Double Murder and 2 hits to the Giant Scorpion. That's what we're going to do, because we have a ton of fate points right now. We need to start cycling through those. So, let's use him. Oh. Yeah, we're going to use him on Beer Max. Delicious. So, I have 2 cards to distribute. He's getting 1. Michael, and we'll give 1 to each of the other ones too, to keep it a little bit balanced. Oh, good. He got another yellow card. Let's hope Harry got another attack. He did not. All right. So, we have here, we've got our attack cards, which we do not have a lot of overall. We've got this, which is an obstacle clearing card, which we're not going to need because we want to use Michael's obstacle clearing card. So we know that we can discard this at some point. This has a range of 2, which could ostensibly get us this speed potion, which will bring all this down. What I want to do, we're going to go ahead and do this card, this investigation card. But for which one? Because we can do it for the whole row. Huh. We're going to do it for this one. Because, yeah. Because what we're going to do eventually with this guy is we're going to discard a card to move this here. And then use Michael Carpenter to clear this obstacle and add investigation to these 2. Perfect. Sure. So we'll play this. Oops, a doodle. We'll play this card to add 2 clues to both of those. Boop, 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 boop. Lovely. We'll go to Karen. We're going to discard a card from Karen. We're going to discard the Kevlar vest. Boop. And her special thing, remember, lets us add a clue to the furthest right case. In this case, we have 2. In this case, we have 2 cases that are furthest right. We're going to add one to Victor's Missing. Because remember, once we solve Victor's Missing, that's going to put some clues onto who is the Shadow Man. So we've got this happy fella. We're going to, we only have 5 fate. I would not be against, I'm going to pass with him. I'm going to pass with him, and because we're going to use this 4 fate to clear this, I'm going to discard this 2 fate one. Now you notice it's a variable, it's got this modified fate cost, so that will also apply. We rolled a negative, so we're only going to get 1 fate, because the negative subtracted 1 from our 2. That's fine. That's fine. So now, when I want, I can use that +2 to add 2 range to 1 card that I play. So I'm going to use Harry's turn to discard a card so I can move this one here. And I need to remember, I need to keep at least 4. I need to keep 4 fate points for Michael to be able to do his thing. So we're going to move this, and now Michael will be able to play his card. So Karen can do anything that costs 3 cards, or 3 fate points. Let's get her, we can get her to do the speed potion. Yeah. So she will call for backup. The speed potion is going to let her take another turn. Oh, grand. So we're going to use the motorcycle, which we're going to discard for fate points. Now, this could be, because there's two variables here, it could give us 1, it could give us 2, it could give us 3, it could give us 4, or it could give us 5. So let's see what ends up happening. All neutrals become negatives. Golly gee. So it gives us 1 fate. That could have been better. And it could not have been worse. So now we get to add a clue to the furthest. We'll add one to that one. Now it's Michael's turn. So we're going to use this guy. Now remember, his thing, when he passes, let's take a look at it. When you discard for fate, flip this card over to ready the talent. Wait, it should be ready. It is ready. Okay. So we can look at the other side of it. Oh, come on. Okay, it doesn't matter. The ready side tells us that we can add 2 to the range of a card, which means we can go ahead and play Fist of God to clear this one. That was what we've been working on for a little while now. There we go. So we'll play him and his amazingly well manicured beard. And there we go. Grand. Okay, so we have 3 fate points right now. We have Harry Dresden. We need to get, now you'll see all we have left are our foes and our cases, which means these purple cards are useless. So let's go ahead, and his special power is useless now. So let's go ahead and just discard this one. And we got a plus, so that means that it's going to be 2 + 1. We're going to get 3 fate for it. Yay! No target for talent because there are no obstacles or advantages. Grand. So Karen's turn. We have 6. We need to get this guy solved so that we can add some clues to this guy. Okay, if we used her stunt right now, we would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fate points. Because remember, her stunt is you get 1 fate point for each foe with hits and each case with clues. I feel like we could get more if we got some more. I feel like we could get 1 more. So I'm going to use the Street Sense to put some clues on Ritual Double Murder. Boop, boop. Cool. Alright, so now we have Michael Carpenter. We know that both of these cards are useless because we don't have any obstacles and we don't have any advantages. I'm not too worried about getting these guys out, but we also still have his special ability, his stunt, which lets you add 3 hits to any foe that doesn't have any hits on him yet. So what I want to do is get some hits on the Shadow Man. No, maybe the Goons. Alright, let's get some hits on the Goons. Boop. And that's going to send the Goons far away. Maybe it would have been better to do the Shadow Man. That's okay. So, Dresden. Dear sweet Dresden. I want to solve, is Marcone involved before I murder these goons? Because remember, once I defeat these goons, I'm going to remove 2 clues from Marcone, which is not cool. So I need to get that done before I get this done. No, I need to get this done before I get this done. And I could use this blasting rod to murder them right now, but I'm not gonna. I only have 3 points, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this purple one. Buy myself a little bit of time. See what the other geniuses can do. See what Karen is up to. Alright, whoops-a-doodle. I did not mean to click on that. Okay. So, I'm pretty satisfied with this. We could get 6 fate right now if I played her stunt, which I'm going to do. Because we need some fate points now to really start things to get going. So this guy, if we discard, we'll be able to charge up his special power, which is the range increase. So let's go ahead and discard one of his cards just for 1 fate to power up his special power. We'll move to Harry, and Harry is going to, we're going to use this private investigator, and we're going to hope that we get a positive sign so that we can add some clues to Victor is missing. Otherwise, we'll add them to is Marcone involved. So let's see what happens. We are going to, so this is telling us it's possible that we might hit this, but we will definitely be able to get one of these, because even if we get a negative, it would be 2, we could hit all of these. So you have to decide before you roll if you're going to sell it for fate or if you're going to try to use it. Because if you're going to try to use it, if you're going to roll and then be like, oh no, I wanted a higher roll, I'm just going to sell it for fate. No, 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 little cheater. So let's roll it. Oh, we got a negative. Boo. So we'll go ahead and attribute those. We'll put those clues towards, is Marcone involved? Now, who is it? Is it Michael? Michael has 1. Because remember, when we solve this case, the active player must discard an attack card. So whoever puts that last clue on him, I want them to not have any more attack cards in hand so that they don't lose one. We want to make sure that they use it. Harry has got 2 attack cards, so he's not solving anything. It's probably going to be this lady. It's probably going to be Karen. I guess it could be this guy. No, his clues are too valuable. So it's going to be her, which means we need to go ahead and get rid of her attack card. We have 2 options. We can use it to attack, like it could attack that giant scorpion, or we can use it for fate points. And the next turn, she'd be able to get rid of Marcone. Is Marcone involved? So she's going to need 4 action points next turn, without a doubt. Huh. Alright, she's going to use it. She got a positive and a negative, which keeps her at 4 damage. She's going to apply 4 damage to the giant scorpion. Alright, so Michael Carpenter, driving me bananas. He's going to discard this. Oh, Harry Dresden, what are we going to do with you? I don't want to use his thing yet. Oh, wait. Because it would take 2 off of here, which would put that at 4. Is her thing 3 clues? No, it's only 2 clues. It's not enough. Okay. So in that case, we're going to want to discard one of these cards. We'll just discard this one. Yes, that's the one. We got a neutral, so we get 2 fate for it. Pretty fun. Alright, so now it's Karen's turn. Karen is going to play Interrogation on is Marcone involved? She got to draw a card because she solved the mystery with that one. Alright, so we only have 2. So you see we have 1 case solved, and we still have 4 foes remaining. Now one of these 2 doofuses, this one probably, is going to be able to be murdered by Harry. But we are going to need a fair amount more of everything. God. Very bad. Okay, well, whatever. We'll just pay fate for that. or we'll take fate for that card. Harry is going to use his blasting rod on the goons. That lets him attribute 4 hits to something that would die from 1 to 4 hits. Karen, what is she going to do? She can do 4 damage to somebody. But the detective work, it's only a range 3. Oh, I'm going to lose. Because we still can't attribute damage to the toad demon because who is the shadow man is still an option out here. Remember, we can't put any hits on this guy until this one is solved. Alright, she's going to discard this one for fate. She got a plus sign. That's something. We got 5 fate off of that. Get to add a clue to the furthest thing. Alright, Michael. Yeah. He'll go ahead and play that on that. Try to get some clues on there. He will fight. Let's see what he rolls. Let's see what he rolls. So he's going to be able to do 4 damage. He could take out the giant scorpion. Or he could attribute damage to the shadow man. He's going to take out the scorpion. It's probably going to end up not being my finest choice. Alright, so now, damn it. She could... This is not great. I need to solve 2 cases to win this. She's the only one who has a card left. You can see they don't have a number here, which means they don't have any cards in hand. This is the last card in the game, and she can't afford to play it. So we're going to go ahead and discard it for fate points. Which adds a clue to that card, so that's something. Then it's going to be Michael's turn. We've already used his special thing. We've already used Dresden's special thing and Karen's special thing. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to trigger the showdown. So we are going to start the showdown, and I hope you are mentally prepared for how exciting this animation is about to be. Oops, just kidding. It'll be after this. So this is telling us how we can spend the leftover fate that we have in the showdown. Basically, we're going to try to, like, in one last big hurrah, like the big climax of the book, we are going to try to solve the last of the cases and defeat the last of the foes. This might not make any sense to begin with, so I will be explaining it when we actually get to the showdown, which now comes the animation. Ah, damn it. Yes, I'm ready. Just do the end. There it is. Woo, it's time for the show. That was very anticlimactic. Okay, so any case that you have clues on, you can try to solve in the showdown. Any foes that you have hits on, you can try to defeat. Since we don't have any hits on either of these foes, we can't try to beat them, which means in order for us to win, we have to solve 2 more cases. So what you do in the showdown, and it's very difficult to really get very far in the showdown, this is going to be impossible, is you roll the number of die. Like, let's say we pay no fate for this one. You roll the number of die here, 6, and you add up your positives, subtract the number of negatives that you get, and you get that many clues on the card. So if I rolled 2 of each type, right? 2 positives, 2 neutrals, and 2 negatives, that would be a wash, because I have 2 positives minus 2 negatives is 0. So I wouldn't add any clues to this. Now, if I pay 2 fate, I'm going to be rolling 5 die, but I get 2 positives automatically thrown in that are going to go towards that equalization of the positives and negatives. So, and this took me a couple of games to figure out what's going on. I was just randomly tapping on things, and that's not as effective as you might think it is. So, let's see. We have 5 fate points, which really means that I can go whole hog on these two. Now, I want to go 100% hog on this one, because remember, if I beat this, it's going to add 3 clues to this, which would beat this. Oh, it's a lot of stress. Okay, because I find it very hard to imagine I'm going to beat this. I need this die roll to be phenomenal. So I'm going to get to roll 6 die, and I get 3 automatic successes to add in with those 6 die. I'm nervous, I'm not going to lie, because it's a long shot, but I could still win this. Okay, so we're going to tap on this. I'm going to spend 4 fate to do this roll. Oh! I did it. Oh, I'd like to say that that was talent, but it totally isn't. So, looking at this, we get 3 successes to roll 6 die. We roll our 6 die. We have 4 pluses and 1 negative. These two cancel each other out, so we have 3 pluses plus our automatic successes. We got 6 successes, which we get to add those 6 clues to Victor's missing. Oh, that solves it, which adds 3 to the other one, which solves it. Will you look at that? Somebody won the game. It was me. I can't believe it. That really could have gone either way, though. That was not skill on my part. So now we're going to go ahead and throw our other 4 into this case, because it's the only other option we have. And that, oh my god, I solved that one too. So we get 3 automatic successes. Plus these 3 pluses, we're going to add 6 to this case. We started with 5. That gives us 11. We solved all our cases, guys. We are super detectives. Victory! And look at how wholesome this message is. With the help of his friends, Harry was victorious. Thanks, Knight Templar. Thanks, non-supernatural detective. That's only the second time I've won the game, so I feel like there was a little bit of good luck from doing this video. So yeah, the showdown didn't give an accurate display of what would probably happen during a showdown, in that it is hard, like, it's hard to win on a showdown with those odds. Like, I shouldn't have won that. You don't want to bank on winning in the showdown. You want to go into the showdown with as many clues as possible on your cards, as many hits on as many foes as you can, to really shore up your odds of winning. Which can be tricky. Like, you have to balance spending fate and the way that all the cards have synergy. And I like that about the game. I like that it's a puzzle. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I hope you have a nice rest of your day.